shirt, like the two-tone color of the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just.
I feel like it's like a... Five minutes out. Have we done a mic check to see if you can hear me?
Yeah, I was up.
Look, we're going to go live, okay? That's all I can tell you. We're going to go live.
Okay.
All right, and welcome into the brand new TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers in the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. We call it the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. It is still the same TexAgs radio, but it's a brand new season, guys. We've got a new head coach in football, got a brand new head coach in baseball. The season for football starts this week, Notre Dame. So we wanted to go bigger and better, and that's why they've created this amazing new studio for us to continue to deliver the top content in all of college sports media. So proud to be a part of this team, and we are really pumped to talk about it. 10 cameras in this studio. Now, we're going to try to work out some kinks, so in the very beginning, just bear with us. The sound, we'll have that fixed as the days go on, but we're super excited, and I think enough about this. You'll be seeing it. You'll be seeing all the changes. Hopefully, you're going to the YouTube page or TexAgs.com to take a look at the brand new studio, of course, to our friends at the CW. But with that, we're going to begin things with my man, I feel like SportsCenter, OB. Olin Buchanan, our Heisman Trophy voter, columnist extraordinaire. OB, welcome to TexAgs Live, buddy.
Yeah, I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We are moving on
Maybe
up.
we're going to get a piece of the pie.
Now, here's the deal. Usually, all the owners aren't watching at the exact same time, so we've got to be very careful on how we start off this show because there have been a couple FCC violations that they don't know about, but it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, what are the odds that my first day in the new studio is also my last one, right?
Well, there's a meeting after the show. By the way, out of curiosity, what's the name of the show?
The Go Hour.
But the big show.
Well, TexAgs Live now.
Look at you. Look at you.
And this is the Go Hour, the first segment of TexAgs Live.
So we have a counter in the back. Every time I say the wrong name, because I will say the wrong name. It's going to happen. I've already typed the wrong name on the boards. All right? We're going to have a little sound. We're going to keep a counter. It's going to be good. But let's talk a little football. It's Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. And we should give away a coffee, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we do number one since it's day one of TexAgs Live?
Yeah.
Or is that too easy?
Yeah, I think that's too easy. I think, I think 12 makes sense to me.
12 for the 12th man.
Well, for the 12th man, it's a new season. So you talked about all the things that are new. Well, the new playoff format.
Yes, sir.
So, that's just my suggestion.
Texter number 12, please send it in to 979-693-1150. The 12th texter that writes the word coffee will send you a free bag of TexAgs coffee. OB, it's the season. Finally here. We've got Notre Dame on Saturday. I feel like we've been talking about this game for months.
Because we have.
Well, yeah, this is true. But now we get to really talk about it, and we're going to know so much more about Texas A&M by Saturday. Now, I don't think whatever happens in that game will tell. Well, let me rephrase that. Whatever happens in that game, if the Aggies go and roll Notre Dame, I'm going to know a lot about this team.
Right.
If the Aggies don't win, I'm going to know a little bit more, obviously, because we'll have a little bit more evidence. But I still think a team coached by a first-year head coach, at this stop at least, is going to take time to really find that final product.
Yeah, I think, usually when they open up against an overmatched opponent, like a Sam Houston or somebody like that, which they often do.
Yep.
I say the only thing you can learn about the team is something bad. Because if you don't do things well against an overmatched opponent, why can you expect to do things well? Right. Understand that you can get better as the season goes on. And this is almost the opposite. I think about the only thing you can glean from a game against Notre Dame is something good. If they lose, well, maybe not to the gamblers out in Vegas, but I think most of the college football world expects Notre Dame to win. Notre Dame
Vegas
is ranked
knows
like
something
7.
though, OB.
Notre Dame's ranked 7, A&M's 20. So if you lose that game, you kind of expect it to, unless you just get completely dominated, which I don't think will happen. You come away saying, okay, well, you could feel pretty good about it, even
Right.
though A&M has to break out of that tendency to play close but lose. You know, it's time to start winning those close games. And if they win a close game, you say, hey, they show they can win a close game. You know, so I think the only thing you'll learn about A&M in this game is if you do, it'll be something positive.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I wrote down some storylines for this game, and I'm sure you can add some, but the first storyline that I wanted to go through, Elko was obviously the defensive coordinator here at Texas A&M years back, right? Also, the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, completely different Notre Dame team, obviously. It's the Brian Kelly days many, many years ago before Jimbo was even here. But there is that connection. And then, of course, you have the other connection with Elko and Notre Dame. Their starting quarterback, Riley Leonard, I believe, sure, Riley Leonard may be able to give some information to Notre Dame about the way Coach Elko coaches. But Coach Elko definitely knows more about Riley's game than Riley knows about Elko.
Well, first of all, I don't know what Riley Leonard can tell them about Elko because it's a new offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Now, he can probably say, hey, Coach Elko is a guy that's going to demand this, and maybe he tends to go for it on fourth down, and so be prepared and things like that. But as far as he's behind a completely different offensive coordinator. So I do think whatever Riley can tell the Notre Dame staff about A&M is going to be limited because he's playing the offense. Now, I think, your coach should know what the quarterback, if he's played for you for a couple of years, could be able to do. But I think we all know Riley Leonard's a good quarterback. He can run. If his running ability hasn't been compromised from his injury, but he can run, accurate thrower. It's not supposed to be easy, and it's not going to be.
Right. When I think of Riley Leonard, look, if you have a question about Riley Leonard coming back from injury, you've got to have similar questions for Connor. But Connor did go through the spring. Riley was very limited during the spring.
Actually had some surgery on his ankle. I don't know if it was major surgery, but he did have some surgery on his.
So there's that aspect. The thing that scares me about Riley Leonard it's not his throwing, it's his ability to Jackson Dart it at the end of a game. Like his legs. Now I think this is going to be a better coach defense for obvious reasons. I know you're not big on the prior defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, but he had success here the last year. The defense had some success. Not your level of success, but they got to the quarterback as a team.
After he was told to start rushing.
Well, this is true. After that Miami game, things changed.
Yes.
Right? That game, Miami was able to get to the quarterback. A&M, I don't remember getting to the quarterback much.
Twice.
Yeah. So, but what he scares me is if you do not have disciplined edge players, he can get around the edge and run.
Yeah, but if you have a spy, you can something that the previous defense coordinator often did not utilize against running quarterbacks. But if you have a spy, you can you can have somebody to try to take away that scrambling. But the problem with that is that takes a guy out of coverage, and a good quarterback can take advantage of that.
The other storyline I wanted to get into was Colin Klein. So, and there's two parts of this Colin Klein part. During the Jimbo era, the offense was antiquated. Fair?
It was very predictable and, yes,
old.
I would say antiquated.
All right. And Colin Klein is the opposite of that. Innovative, likes to kind of deceive the defense, give you multiple looks. He's very creative. So there's an opposite approach. Also, 2 years ago, Notre Dame tried to hire Colin Klein. He turned them down to stay at K-State. He didn't turn down A&M. He came, I think, with one of those first calls.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad he's here. I hope we see him to be everything he's billed to be, that he's as good in the SEC as he was at Kansas State. Like I said before, he has an offense that, that Riley Leonard or A&M hadn't seen. So that's going to be one of the more intriguing things about this game from an A&M standpoint. As an A&M fan, how different is the offense going to look? Look, Jimbo had a certain point when he say it really doesn't. Well, when he say scheme doesn't matter, that wasn't true. But when he said you run the same plays, yeah, for the most part you do. You can have some different wrinkles and things like that, but it's how you present them, the things you do to create confusion, which he never did, and I think you'll see that from a Colin Klein offense.
All right, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us, you can text us. We will take those phone calls at 979-693-1150. That is our phone number. Should we go around the room and say hi to the people and kind of let this room breathe a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's say hi to Nick Savage behind the glass. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How is it for you to work with your boss/owner right to your right, making sure you make no mistakes? There's Josh.
Yeah, he's there. Again, I'm trying to, let me see if I can do this. I'm working like two things at once here. Fishbowl, there we go. We got a whole crew here. This studio is awesome. I can't wait to learn all the bells and whistles. We got so much potential with it now. But I mean, thanks to Daniel, Josh, Brandon, everyone who's been here grinding on this studio, crunching. I think Josh pulled an all-nighter last night. I got here at 5 a.m. and he was still grinding away. So this is awesome, man. Yeah,
it is. They worked throughout the night to get this ready. I had my doubts, OB, that we'd be ready to go game one or week one. And Josh and Brandon and the whole crew, they just continued to work through. Brandon was in the screen a moment ago. But I said this as it was being developed. This rivals what I had at some of the big TV stations I worked at. This is a big deal.
Well, when I can turn around and see a big picture of Connor Wigman, I mean, what else do you need?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's Riley Leonard on the other side.
Look at that. Yeah, it's huge. Hey, Nick, give us a football thought or two, please.
Apparently I sound like I'm speaking from the space station, but I mean, I'm excited to be back in Kyle Field. I don't know if I want to say this, but this game is giving me like 2018 Clemson vibes, because that game came down to the wire. It took a ball out of the back of the end zone that probably shouldn't have been called the way it was. They were that close to upsetting a top 10 team. So, I mean, I feel like it's going to be one of those type of games. The environment's just going to be bonkers. I feel confident. I feel good about the Aggies for sure.
All right. Thank you, Nick, very much. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I'll look to my right. Luke Evangelist with a big old smile.
We can actually see him.
Yeah, this is awesome. I can actually see you now. It's just absolutely incredible. Like you were talking about the graphic, OB, just to look to my left and see Connor and Riley Leonard, and it's just incredible. The graphics, the production value, everything is awesome to be a part of.
We're happy you're here day one, buddy.
Yeah. You want me to get into it?
Please get into it.
Yeah, of course. I've got a football thought first. I did some digging on some stats. Dating back to 2013, Notre Dame is 104-36, which is a 75% win percentage. But on the road against ranked opponents, the Irish are 5-13, which is just a 27% win percentage. And actually doing an even deeper dive, since 2006, the Irish are 0-10 when playing in front of a crowd that is larger than 90,000 people, and 0-8 in front of crowds greater than 100,000.
Hold on. Rewind that. That's a big number.
Yeah.
Rewind it.
So Notre Dame plays Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. They've played UCLA. Those are all crowds greater than 90 and 100,000. Since 2006, Notre Dame is 0-10 in front of crowds bigger than 90,000 and 0-8 in front of crowds bigger than 100,000.
OB.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be more than 90,000 people at game one?
I think there's going to be more than 110,000.
Yeah, I think it's going to be George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be standing room only.
That is a great stat. I legit have been doing a lot of research this weekend. I didn't see that stat. Did you go digging for that?
Yeah, I had to go into Notre Dame's schedule every single year, combined with all the largest stadiums in the country when they renovated those stadiums. So if they played someone but it hadn't been expanded to 100,000 yet, I had to go into each individual game and find attendance dating back to 2006. So I'm glad that stat is getting the recognition.
I suspect those were all good teams playing in in those big stadiums as well. So.
Yeah, the 4 were Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and UCLA.
So
and Georgia. They did play at Georgia.
I did some digging, and Billy and I will talk about it. But look, I like Marcus Freeman. There's a cool vibe to him, like in the interviews and the way he handles his team. But I don't think he's a very good coach, or at least he hasn't proven to be. Look, he won 10 games last year, but I've seen some blunders from him. The Ohio State game comes to mind.
Ohio State was a blunder.
He has struggled against top 25 teams. He has struggled on the road. From what I've seen, both coaches are entering their 3rd years as head coach, right? Mm-hmm. I think Coach Elko is a better coach from what we've seen so far.
Well, it's definitely harder to win at Duke than it is Notre Dame. And look, they had that game last year, and Riley Leonard got hurt, and so Elko had to play the whole game or much of the game without his starting quarterback. And if my memory serves, Notre Dame had to convert a key 4th down on its game-winning drive.
That's right. You're exactly right.
And then they won it on a 30-yard run with about, 30 seconds to go. So that's how close that game was to going into overtime.
Now, you got to give them props for winning, obviously. Like Notre Dame deserves that. So if that's your tiebreaker or if that's – but I'm just saying I've seen Coach Elko do more with less and played them without his quarterback for large stretches of that game and got injured at the very end of it, obviously. I like our coach. And of course I like our coach. I bleed maroon, but I think history will also say that when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think the jury is still out on Marcus Freeman as far as just how good a coach he is. The cool vibe, that's fine. Of course, we had a coach around here that's called Coach Cool, and it didn't work out very well. And I always say the coolest thing is winning. So if Marcus Freeman has the kind of season that a lot of college football, quote, experts are projecting, then not only will he be cool, but he will remove any of the doubts about his coaching acumen.
Yeah.
If they don't, he may find himself shortly on the hot seat.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's go one more thing to Luke. Luke, what else do you want to give us before we hit the break?
Yeah, of course. I want to give a shout out to Texas A&M Aggie soccer. They defeated Fairfield 3-0 at the Fish Camp game. And next up, they will travel to Waco to take on Baylor. Aggie volleyball just played Baylor, number 23 ranked Baylor, in an exhibition game, and they won 3-1. So shout out to Jamie Morrison and Coach G.
All right, thank you very much, Luke. OB, we're going to get to know about Prize Picks as we move on through this season. Do you know much about it yet?
No.
You're going to learn about it.
Educate me.
Well, Luke and Matthew Dawson are going to be teaching us quite a bit about it, but it's an awesome app. I want to read you guys a little bit about it because I'm going to start learning about it this week as we start playing it. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting ways to play DFS is you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. They are so good when it comes to this, all right? So Prize Picks is the most fun, and I know that Matthew Dawson's been doing it for a long, long time. He can make extra money. He's been making some money. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less than the projected stats, and place your entry. A couple other things. So, for instance, this week on Prize Picks, Saquon Barkley for more than 60 yards. Patrick Mahomes for more than 2 touchdowns. You can choose Aaron Rodgers for more than 3 touchdowns for that first game. Odell Beckham Jr. more than 50 yards, right? So I'm going to get to learn it. Hopefully you all can get to learn it as well. And it's a really cool thing. What you need to do is go to prizepicks.com. We'll get you that code here on the other side of the break, but go to prizepicks.com. Use our code, and you'll receive a guarantee of $50 once you play $5 lineups. Do you have that code by any chance?
It should just be TexAgs.
Just TexAgs. All right, so use the code TexAgs, and you'll get yourself $50 once you play $5 in the lineups. Again, that is prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. All right, it's Prize Picks. Take a look at it. I think you'll enjoy it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. People are saying that the set looks sharp. Can we, for a second, Nick, I'm going to put you on the spot, all right? I apologize. Can we just show a wide and then show some of the things we can put back there? Don't we have an aerial of Kyle Field? And can we do that? I want to show the folks how cool this is. Maybe we can't.
We're working on it.
Okay, there we go.
Hang in there.
Well, we talked earlier about how we had Connor Wigman and Riley Leonard, and here are graphics of them. Now we're looking at
look at the block tee.
At the block tee at Kyle Field. Man, it's a nice place.
It is a nice place.
It's going to be crazy on Saturday night.
You know what's weird, dude?
What?
I'm going to dude you. The first segment I feel was very formal. Hello.
Yeah,
Hola,
now we got to
¿cómo estás?
just get right back to who we are.
We got to beat the Jets, right? I don't feel like I'm borrowing somebody's fancy studio. I don't know. I don't want to mess anything up.
Right.
I've already put some rules in place. You know that.
Yeah.
No more drinks on the table.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Irma and I moved into a new house, and for the first week, it's okay, you can't do anything. You're making it dirty. Don't take off your shoes when you come in, or don't put like you said, your drink here or there, or whatever. And then within a while, it starts looking lived in. But it's going to take a
some
while.
Time. Yeah, and we're working through.
We'll be TexAgs lived in at some point.
I sometimes forget people are getting in their cars different times.
You can't see it.
So it's TexAgs Live, right? It's kind of a rebirth of what we've always done. We're just going bigger and better, right? That's the bottom line.
Like I said, it's like the Jeffersons. We're moving on up.
We're moving on up, OB. And
to not necessarily the east side, but still moving on.
What side of Kyle Field are we on?
Wouldn't this be the south side?
South side of
South
Kyle Field.
side? Yeah.
Moving on up to the south. Well, we were already here, so we just upgraded.
But we're moving on up in terms of it's like you had your house renovated.
I love that feeling. You go in your new bathroom, you're like, this isn't even my bathroom, dude.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to your question here. But I'm going to ask you. By the way, we're going to have Coach Jackie Sherrill on with us here in a few minutes.
No, that's exciting.
We definitely got to get my IFB and yours working. But which defense is better, Notre Dame's or A&M? And let's go through the why behind it.
Oh gosh,
because I've been doing my prep, dude. Notre Dame's got that's three dudes. I apologize. My friend OB. They've got some freaking players on that defense. Howard Cross is a beast.
Yeah.
You've got Benjamin Morrison, who's going to be a first-round pick, probably a top 10 pick. Xavier Watts, just a stud. Their defense is full of some real studs.
Yeah, it is. Statistically, they were, I think, gosh, what were they? Third in the country last year against the pass.
So points per game.
Like that?
They were they gave up 17 points per game. That's 9th in the country. And red zone attempts 2.6, 12th in the country. Red zone percentage 74%, 13th. Total yards per game 288. That was 7th in the country. Third down percentage 34.9, 33rd in the country.
Now, part of it's the company you keep.
Sure.
You play Navy, they're not going to throw. You play Tennessee State, well, they're overmatched.
Yep.
Stanford, I think, was one of the worst offenses in the country. So, but, they played USC, which, they got, 3 or 4 interceptions off Caleb Williams. Of course, you know how I feel about all that.
Yeah. But they kept Ohio State to just 17, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but was Ohio State an offensive juggernaut last year?
They had Marvin Harrison Jr.
They had him, but were they an offensive juggernaut last year?
And I was looking at some numbers. Benjamin Morrison had a game against him.
I'm not discounting
his play, yeah.
His play.
You're just saying overall, if you look at 12 games, the teams that they played against, they weren't that impressive offensively.
Well, sometimes, a lot of the, Clemson had some success against them. Louisville had a lot of success against them.
Yep.
So statistically, you'd have to say Notre Dame has the better defense. And I guess I'll go along with that and I'll tell you why. We're expecting Texas A&M to be much better in the secondary.
So I spent a lot of this weekend listening to national narratives about A&M and well, but their secondary is suspect. You don't know the answer to that, sir. You don't know because it's a completely different secondary.
Right.
Bryce Anderson is back at his natural position.
Right.
You've brought in some dudes from other places that are very good at their position.
Yeah, see, that's my point. We expect A&M to be much better in the secondary, which was a problem last year. But until those guys actually go out and play,
Sure.
Even with the defensive line, I expect the defensive line to be significantly better than Notre Dame's offensive line.
Yep.
But they still got to, until they go out and prove it. Notre Dame, you can question the caliber of competition overall.
Yep.
But they proved, at least to a certain degree, that they have a strong pass defense. And I don't have any doubts about, Howard Cross. And I think if you have any doubts about Notre Dame, talking to people who cover them, it would be about their linebackers. And I'll say this one last thing about why you might question Notre Dame and Texas A&M.
Yep.
I kept hearing all off season that Florida State's defensive front would be elite, one of the best in the country. And I watched Notre Dame push them. Georgia Tech push them around.
Yep.
So again, are you who people say you are, or are you going to go out and show it on the field? And we just don't know.
We have a whole week to kind of get into it, but for sure, the advantage should be A&M's defensive line in this matchup based on what we know about their offensive line. Now, I understand there's questions about A&M's offensive line, but there's a lot more experience regardless on the A&M offensive line than the Notre Dame offensive line.
On the surface, I would say that I would take both defensive lines in that matchup, but I would think the advantage is more significant for A&M against on the surface. Now, but A&M needs to dominate at the line of scrimmage on defense because that's should be A&M's strength and Notre Dame's biggest question mark.
We're about to hit a break, but Rhett hurt my heart. Hurt my heart on the YouTube page. Rhett says, "Man, with all this high def, you guys going to hire a makeup artist?" What kind of shot is that?
I don't know.
That was kind of a shot.
Could you see me?
Was you talking about Luke?
Well, you had to wear makeup when you were at.
I had to wear
Houston
stuff to cover
TV
the
show.
beard. Yeah, in studio, you're supposed to wear a little bit of. Yeah.
I don't even know if makeup would help me.
You know what? We got a luchador mask.
They may just tell me to wear the luchador mask.
All right, we've been hinting about it. So, we were recruited.
Yes.
All the top barbecue joints in the world. They heard that, our beloved Fargo's was going to retire. They're going into retirement. And we were lost. And we started going to places left and right. They were all really good, right? We got several great places. But, OB, we found a freaking place.
We did.
It's a place that I remember the first time you went, you were like, "Oh, David, you weren't lying, bro."
Yeah, I'd heard good things and from other people as well as you, and then I took one bite into those pork ribs and I said, these are as good as any I've ever had in my life. And then I had some brisket and some sausage, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Do you remember how much food they gave it? Oh, by the way, $17.75. Many of you guessed it.
$17.75. It was a good year.
It's close.
And it's a great barbecue joint.
Oh,
a good year and a great barbecue place.
It's close, but people don't think it's close. It took us 12 minutes to get there from here.
Yeah, just head out towards Snook, You go out and get some barbecue, head over to the Snook Cemetery, have some business discussions, and then have a great day.
So Brad and Brandon are the owners, right? They listen to TexAgs. They're awesome, the Doan family. They smoke the meat themselves. They spend all day doing that. They're veteran and family owned. They have prime meats. They were featured in Texas Monthly, top 25 new barbecue joints and top 100 joints. We know that kind of stuff. And when is this not true? I basically had a When Harry Met Sally episode when I had the queso
and
mac and cheese.
Yeah.
It was like,
mac
I was like,
and
oh
queso,
my.
It was
gyrating through that, bro.
I said, I'll have what he's having. And then I had some, and it was awesome.
It was great.
And they are veterans, and I'm a veteran of barbecue.
You are.
So
you're a pro.
It's where I need to be. And by the way, you know why they call it 1775?
Because that's the year the military began.
The military began.
That's right.
So again, paying homage to the military.
So here, I'm sorry, guys, you're gonna have to wait They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stotzer Parkway, Suite C, College Station, 77845-979-492-6241. They can't wait to see you at 1775, give you a little taste of what Texas has to offer. The website, 1775txbbq.com. Go check it out. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studios. The Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We should have Jackie Sherrill on the line here in a moment, and that'll be on the Boss Firearms hotline. Boss Firearms is your local fire experts. They're Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. And this is now our weekly conversation with Jackie Sherrill, presented by Texas Best Home Loans. You trusted Jackie Sherrill to lead. You trusted Jackie Sherrill to lead the Aggies to the Southwest Conference titles. Now trust his son Braxton Sherrill to lead you with the best rates in home loans refinancing at Texas Best Home Loans. Score better rates and lower fees with Braxton Sherrill at txbesthomeloans.com, an equal housing lender. And with that, we go to the Boss Firearms hotline. We are joined by the great Jackie Sherrill. Jackie, good morning. How are you, sir? Well, it is game week, and I know you've had a hectic couple of days. I know you were traveling quite a bit. So just now that it's game week, your thoughts on what you think A&M can be this year?
Yeah, Coach Olin Buchanan here. My question for you is, look, obviously you coached a lot of teams, long time. Going into a season, can you get a feel before the season starts of quite frankly, how good your team is, or even for a coach, does it take a few games before you get a sense of what you're working with?
Present at this game than probably any game in A&M history. I mean, around the country, and you look at all the big media people that are going to be in the attendance, and certainly ESPN. It's the pressure is there, the expectation is there. So. As a coach, you really don't know until you line up and play. You've been practicing against each other, and you kind of feel, that this player is really a great player, or this player, or we need help in this position. I think probably, as we all know, the biggest question right now at A&M is going to be the offensive line.
100% agree with that. Jackie Sherrill with us here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. There's the one, TexAgs Live, I should say.
TexAgs Live.
Jackie, so how early in camp would you know if you had something special? Was something that you would be able to identify very early, or is it something that you had to see it on the field for your great teams?
No, I mean, you can tell in practice. You can look at let's just take a receiver, for example, or running back, defensive back, linebacker. You can just kind of go through each position, and you can tell, how the player is doing against all the offensive linemen, for instance, one particular against the defensive lineman, or vice versa, or a receiver quarterback. I mean, you can tell. But it's hard to tell how good their competition is until you play. You know that some of these players are very talented. You know that some of these players are very good because of how they played in the past. But again, you get excited when you see some young players. I'll give you an example. Years ago in Pittsburgh, we had a young man by the name of Tony Dorsett. And the first time he touched the ball, he went 84 yards. And Coach Major is running down the field, jumping and hollering and screaming, and called everybody up, and he said, "That's a football player," which we all know today that Tony Dorsett was a great football player. But if you go back, and I remember Johnny Holland, for example, we recruited him as a quarterback. He came in and all of a sudden moved him to free safety. We're in practice one day, and I just put him in the linebacker drill. And all of a sudden you knew that he was going to be a great linebacker. And, part of a coach's responsibility is to find the place for the player to play. And that's what we don't know right now is, do we have every player on the team in the right position for them to help the football team?
Right. Hey, Coach, how do you feel about opening the season against an opponent like Notre Dame? Do you like just jumping into it and finding, you're being tested right away, or do you prefer having that easier opponent to start the season?
Well, the pressure is really on Notre Dame. So in this situation, I like it because Notre Dame's supposed to beat A&M. But usually, and most people like to go the other way so they can play a lot of people. This game, when you open with a game like this, you're not going to play a lot of players down the line because you're not going to have that opportunity because every snap is so important. Even in the kicking game, one play in the kicking game can get you beat. So it's hard to analyze all the players that you have because your only thought going into this game right now and playing Saturday is to win the game.
Talking to Jackie Sherrill here on TexAgs Radio. Twice. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Hey, Jackie, I want to close out with this. Connor Wigman, the levels he can get to. We've only seen him for 8 games, but in those 8 games, he has been fantastic. What do you think? What is Connor's upside? Is he a top 5 quarterback in college football potentially? Is he top 5 in the SEC? Is that his ceiling?
Yes. Connor, he's shown that from the first time. And if you remember, even as a freshman, the spark that he had and the ability that he gave the team, to help, and his play to help the team. Now, Connor, in my opinion, will have a good year. Now, the question comes back: can we protect him? We have to protect him.
That is the great Jackie Sherrill on the Boss Firearms hotline. Jackie, we really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Jackie Sherrill there, and that is presented by Texas Best Home Loans. Make sure that you call them up and check them out on their website, txbesthomeloans.com. They are an equal housing lender. All right, we'll hit a break here, OB. We'll come back with a little Around Aggieland and some final thoughts here to close out the Go Hour on TexAgs Live. Right now, this is the brand new TexAgs Live studio. This studio is incredible. We love it, and that is presented by Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you, so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone. They've got 53 great offices in Texas alone. We're talking Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, East Texas, West Texas, and of course they're outside of Texas as well, but their headquarters is on Highway 6. You've got to go visit them. You'll see Jason Jackson, Morgan Keith, the whole gang riding around town. They are the place to take care of your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, business owners, with amazing priorities of God, family, and country. Check out the website, rolloinsurance.com. That is rolloinsurance.com. Or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. I legit went through the wrong door. I'm so used to going to the other studio, and I went to the wrong door, so I apologize for being a little bit late. It is presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Kay Naegeli.
How are y'all liking this new studio so far? It is awesome.
It is fantastic. We're working on the sound. I know some people have been texting in about the sound. We'll get it fixed, guys. Don't worry. But I still I feel like I'm doing the show like in Los Angeles or New York or Miami somewhere, just not College Station.
It doesn't feel like College Station.
But it is College Station, which makes it better.
Yeah, it's awesome. They have been working nonstop on this for I don't even know how long, and it's paying off. It just looks so cool in here, all the different graphics and stuff, and to be able to present on game week is just great. So
what's going on in around? Do we have a game?
we do have a game. We
Yeah,
have
tell
a couple games. So let's start off with football. Mike Elko's 20th ranked Aggies are kicking off the 2024 campaign on Saturday against number 7 Notre Dame. We'll have a lot of storylines this week surrounding that game. Again, that is Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on ABC if you are not going to be making your way over to Kyle Field. I know we had a bunch of people at Ticket Pool this morning. Absolutely nuts from what I've seen from pictures Luke was showing me. It's going to be packed, so Notre Dame is in for a hot one and a loud one. So hopefully helmet communication, we can throw them off a little bit. But additionally, media will speak with Coach Mike Elko, Trey Zune, Noah Thomas, and Torian York later today, so stay on the lookout for those quotes. This past weekend, soccer had a 3-0 victory over Fairfield on Saturday night. A trio of 3 first-half goals propelled the 24th-ranked Fighting Texas Aggies to a win at Ellis Field. Now they will head on the road to Waco for an 8 p.m. matchup, and that will be on ESPN Plus if you want to watch against the Baylor Bears. As Luke mentioned earlier, Jamie Morrison's Aggies had a ranked win to end the preseason against a really historically good Baylor volleyball program. They are ranked number 23rd in the nation. They won in straight sets, actually, and then they just played a 4th set for fun. They lost that 4th set, but technically, if we're counting it, just 3-0, straight set win,
Right.
Great for the program. And they will kick off their 2024 season on the road against South Alabama on Saturday, at 5:30 p.m. On ESPN Plus if you want to watch that as well. Additionally, women's golf will be competing at the Carmel Cup in Pebble Beach, California this weekend, and cross country will get going. They will be in Stillwater, Oklahoma to kick off their 2024 season. A lot of stuff going on around Aggieland.
A lot of great stuff. Thank you, KK. Appreciate you. OB, we survived the go hour, at least, of day 1 of TexAgs Live.
Yeah, I think if I was a cross-country runner, I'd probably do well in Stillwater. I'd probably be trying to run my way out of there.
Right?
I've never really wanted to go to Stillwater. I'd probably maybe the Eskimo Joe's. Run over there.
I've never been to Eskimo Joe's.
That's a nice place.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hey, so
Iconic.
We got a minute and a half left. So Kay mentioned the weather. You don't think that's going to affect Notre Dame? Maybe at the end of the game, potentially?
I think it could. Now, it may be some rain in the forecast. Hopefully, if it does rain, hopefully it'll be one of those rains that just makes the humidity even worse.
Super sticky, yeah.
I look for every advantage I can get, and the weather could be an advantage. Maybe not early, but maybe I see guys
Fourth quarter.
cramping up
Yep.
and things like that. So maybe they just get worn down. Hope so.
Advantages, potentially weather,
Potentially weather.
Quarterback.
Home field.
home field.
I think A&M's defensive line against their offensive line. Maybe even, I know they're excited about the receivers, but they're like the A&M secondary. They got to prove it.
They got to do it,
And
yeah.
so they have a receiving corps that has to prove it. A&M secondary has to
Yep.
prove it.
Yep. Good stuff, OB. Appreciate you.
All right.
All right, that's going to do it for hour number 1 of TexAgs Live. Hour number 2, Billy's going to be with us for a couple hours. He should be joining us early on in the 9 o'clock hour. Tom Hart, everyone's favorite, will join us to start off that 9 o'clock hour. A couple things we're going to be talking about. I want to do a deeper dive into Mike Elko versus Marcus Freeman, so we'll talk with Billy about that. At 10 o'clock hour, obviously much more Billy, as we'll talk about what this season can mean for Connor Wigman, and much, much more. We'll get into that, and of course, to your text messages at 979-693-1150. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, we are back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find our good friend Tom Hart. Tom, new studio, new name, suits at work, no drinks on the set. We are trying to bring it, my friend.
Everything looks awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No, we will definitely T-shirt it up so I can show the guns on several days. So that's going to happen. But I felt day one, first day of the new week of the new season for A&M, I had to go like banker/lawyer.
You could have gone tuxedo, but listen, Suits, the TV show, was a hit before, and now it's back. Everything old is new again. It's been tearing up Netflix or wherever it is. So, yeah, you look like you could be in there with Harvey trying cases and causing issues.
I haven't watched that show yet. It is on the list to eventually watch. I got to catch up on House of Dragon. I'm so behind on stuff, man.
Well, you got no chance now because it's football season, so just forget it.
The only way I can watch stuff is when I travel on the plane, right? You just download something and watch it. That's about it. But I'm usually doing a little bit of prep for the game. So let's talk about football this weekend, just this past weekend, and then we'll kind of look ahead to Notre Dame and A&M. What you think about Haynes King? What you think about Florida State and the way Georgia Tech was able to handle that?
You know, I had Georgia Tech last year. Early in the season, it was September, in their game at Ole Miss, and I remember visiting with Haynes King, and I probably shared this with you at the time or close to it. And I told him, I said, man, I see such an improvement in your presentation, probably your maturity, no doubt your confidence. Is all of that accurate than where you were at Texas A&M, just in terms of, man, deer in headlights? And what I'm talking about is not just his play on the field, but the way he interacted with us, you know, and yes, we're media, but we're a pretty chill group. Like, we just want to talk ball. And he said 100%. He goes, I got here, it was brand new to me. I'm not a city guy. Being in Atlanta took some getting used to, but it was it was definitely a reset button for him. And so I think that leadership that he's able to show as a coach's son and somebody who's been married to the game was evident on Saturday. You know, the way that game started against Florida State, I thought, okay, we're going to have a shootout. There's going to be a ton of offense in this. Nobody's interested in playing defense. But after their first possession, Florida State couldn't run the ball. Georgia Tech slowed down, and they were more than content to run as much clock as they possibly could. And I think maybe, David, that's some insight into what we might see going forward in college football. With the new clock rules, you can really suck the life out of a game and just dominate it if you can run the clock. Kind of old school, right? I think there were a total of 100 possessions, 100 plays, give or take 7 possessions each. So that really puts if you can control the clock, that really puts a premium on ball security and efficiency. And I thought Georgia Tech did a much better job.
What does that say for Florida State's future this year? I mean, to have that early of a loss after the way last season ended and what they hoped would be a playoff berth this year.
There were a lot of awesome jokes online, by the way. My favorite was, Florida State realized they couldn't make the playoff undefeated last year, so they're trying a different tack this year. That was funny. And I think it's okay to laugh at yourself every once in a while, though Florida State never will. I think the biggest story coming out of that is the opportunity it presents for the SEC or the Big Ten, because chaos in the ACC is only going to pay off. And if they're limited to one team in the playoff, that's obviously more space. I think we already know or expect we're going to get some sort of chaos in the Big 12, right? The prediction is that that's going to be a conference that comes down to the wire, and they're going to have a lot of teams contending. And but now things are wide open. And if A&M can hand Notre Dame a loss, that's another likely or possible playoff team that is on the ropes early. But by the way, what else do we have this weekend? We have Georgia, a 2-touchdown favorite against Clemson in Atlanta. So you could be looking at 2 of the best on the field teams in the ACC already with a loss coming out of week 1. That's a huge blow to that league, to the perception of it. Now, Clemson could still get some respect by playing close with Georgia and still losing that game. And I think that's maybe what people expect. However, big blow to the league and a huge advantage to those at-large teams that may be kind of on the bubble going into this first ever 12-team playoff.
Talking to Tom Hart here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, so when we think about this A&M Notre Dame matchup, what should A&M be concerned with this, I guess, somewhat of a new look Notre Dame? The offense is certainly a new look. They got new wide receivers. They got a makeshift offensive line, a lot of talent, a lot of big dudes, but they're all getting, early starts. I think 6 combined starts. A quarterback who can beat you with his legs, but is coming off an injury. When you're A&M, what should scare A&M about Notre Dame?
Well, I think the potential that Riley Leonard has, right, because he's a true dual threat quarterback, but he's still very inexperienced. And if you look at just the numbers, they don't jump out at you. Think about where we are in college football. Over the last 2 years, Notre Dame, to save its season or to build for a season, has turned to quarterbacks from Wake Forest, Sam Hartman, and Duke, and Riley Leonard. That is probably shows where they've been in terms of, recruiting at the quarterback position. So I think Riley only has like 24 total career touchdown passes. So, and Mike Elko certainly knows how to defend him, knows him well, knows what his strengths and weaknesses are. I think the concern is what Notre Dame has defensively. Howard Cross into his 6th season, preseason All-American on the defensive line. He had a hamstring during camp. No, I assume he's healthy and obviously will want to go in this one. I mean, this is one of the biggest games of the year for Notre Dame. They don't have a lot of big games on their schedule at all, and I think that's a concern for them in their at-large berth. They only play 8 games against Power 4 opponents. Army and Navy, neither one a true road game. One's in the Meadowlands. One is at Yankee Stadium, Army at Yankee Stadium. Northern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. Nobody else in the Power 4 only plays 8 games against Power 4 opponents. So this is a must-have game for Notre Dame if they want to make the playoffs. So I'd worry about the defensive line, Howard Cross. I think Benjamin Morrison, cornerback, potential first-rounder, looks good. Xavier Watts was an Nagurski Award winner as the best defensive player in college football last year, and he had 7 picks. I don't know if he gets back to 7 this year. But defensively, Notre Dame is a very good, solid, borderline elite team. Offensively, as you mentioned, brand new wide receiver room, new quarterback. I don't want to say it's a bad offensive line because we haven't seen these guys play together, but inexperienced. And David, I've seen SEC teams go into Kyle Field on a Saturday night facing a 3rd and medium or 3rd and long and absolutely crumble. And those are teams that had experience, that knew what it was like playing in a big stadium. This Notre Dame offensive line does not have that. And so I think there's going to be real opportunities to get after Riley Leonard, especially in obvious passing situations.
Tom, you mentioned something there about this game being so important for Notre Dame. Do you think because of that we could see potential trickeration? They've got to, in their minds, they don't have a lot of room for error. So they need to go all in, and A&M's going to go all in, but maybe the experimental to get big plays to see the kind of result that they have to have if they want to ensure a playoff chance.
I think the question will be on the defensive end. Is Al Golden, is he going to be vanilla, straight up, just play man, or is he going to do some exotic things? And he was fairly playing last year and the last couple of years. So I don't know if you really reinvent yourself defensively or try to take some chances or look different, throw something new on film. They have the personnel to do so. I don't know that they have the personnel to do that on the offensive side. As we've already mentioned, there's a lot of new faces over there. And while fans love trick plays and they love exotic plays and let's do something different, in my mind, the best way to do those is when you have consistency in your personnel and you have a ton of reps together where the timing can be right. It wasn't a trick play, but for those that watched Georgia Tech, Florida State, that final drive for Georgia Tech was nearly thrown off when a man in motion caused a fumble on the shotgun snap to Haynes King. Now, it's just a simple motion, but once you get people moving like that who haven't played well together, and that's generally what you see one way or another when you're setting up a trick play or running a trick play, that's a recipe for disaster. So I don't know offensively if they have the ability to do so, but defensively, maybe they look a little bit different.
If I tell you the offensive line is going to be improved and Connor Wigman is going to play 12 games, what does that tell you about what this season could look like?
I think if the offensive line is, listen, they have to be improved, right? I mean, not to be a smart aleck, but the question is, how much more improved are they? Connor Wegman's health is the key to the season for this team. And an offensive line playing well goes hand in hand with that. Just look at what happened to Florida State in week 12 last year, week 11, that cost them from playing in the college football playoff, getting your quarterback hurt against an FCS team. You can't get him hurt. He's got to stay up. But those things, I think Texas A&M is a bubble team for the college football playoff. I promised myself I wouldn't use the term bubble team because I hate it. Like, it's great for basketball. We shouldn't have bubble teams in college football. It's so weird. Doesn't sound right, but I guess that's where we are. But yeah, they're going to be in contention because Connor Wigman can win big games. That's the bottom line. He can win big games with his arm, and I think A&M can lean on him to do that.
A couple weeks ago, you mentioned 6-6 as a possibility. I don't think you meant it as that's what you were predicting. I think you were saying that was the low end, because right now you're obviously saying if we can protect Connor Wigman, if A&M can protect Connor Wigman, that means a potential fringe playoff team.
Yeah, and to your point, if the offensive line can be a productive offensive line, they don't have to be perfect, then that opens the doors. I'm still a little bit concerned about being year one in a program, right, and hitting the ground running as you have to against Notre Dame. Obviously, they're favored Saturday night, and the home field advantage is going to be a major advantage in my estimation. The lack of depth at running back, I think, is a very real concern, especially when you play the schedule that A&M is going to be playing week in, week out. Your second string running back has got to be able to produce. He's got to be explosive. He's got to be able to make plays. And if you have to get down to a third string guy, where are you? And is that a guy with potential, or is that a guy with production? So everybody has question marks going into the season. And I think what we're going to see this year is a lot of teams. We still have the elite teams, and I think Ohio State and Georgia are elite, and Texas could be part of that elite conversation. I'm not totally sold on them because of their injuries at running back. But what I'm getting at is there is going to be a crowded bunch in that next tier, and the margins are going to be so thin. So to win on those margins can be the difference between a 6-win team, an 8-win team, a 10-win team, and 10 wins in the SEC puts you in the playoff, in my estimation.
One other thing about A&M before I ask you about some other SEC teams. To me, the success of the season goes on the two things you talked about, Connor's health, the offensive line, but also late game management. And I had a lot of respect for Jimbo, but at the end of games the last few years, A&M had chances to beat several teams. Last year, the Tennessee game, the Alabama game, the Miami. There's so many games you can point at. If Coach Elko is able to produce at the end of games what I think he's able to because how focused and detail-oriented he is, now we're talking about a difference of a couple of games potentially just this year alone.
I agree with you, and I want to swing back to the Notre Dame game in just a moment. But big picture, I think, and you'd have to dissect every one of those end-of-game situations that you're referencing for Texas A&M. But I really think big picture there were chemistry issues in this program over the last couple of years, and I don't think many people would argue that. But when the margins are so thin, and it depends on everyone executing, if you have one guy off doing his own thing, I'll never forget, we had a production meeting with Nick Saban years ago, and we talked about his evolution going from, this up-tempo, no-huddle offense to what he had been, but yet they were still running a lot of pro-style stuff within the 20-yard line, in the red zone, and at the goal line. And we asked him, I said, well, why is that so important? Why do you transfer from being this offense to this offense? And he said, listen, I am all about the RPO. I'm all about slinging it around. I know that the game has changed and you've got to be up tempo. He said, but when it's nut cutting time, I need to know that everybody on the field knows their responsibility and will execute it. And in a pro style offense, everyone has their assignment. You go here, you go here, you go there. There's no margin of error when you get down inside the 5-yard line, when you're on the goal line, which brings me back. And you might be talking about this with Billy at the bottom of the hour. But if you go back to the biggest game of the year last year for Notre Dame, it was at home against Ohio State.
Yep.
And a goal line play that Ohio State ran against Notre Dame when Notre Dame only had 10 men on the field and they were missing a defensive lineman in the exact spot where Ohio State ran the ball. Notre Dame had 2 opportunities to fix that before the snap. Number one, Ohio State substituted its running backs. You have a free substitution. They cannot snap the ball until you get a guy out there. You could have run your 11th man out there. Whether or not you stop him, I don't know. Number two, you could just jump off sides. The difference between being at the 1 yard line and the half yard line, if there is such a thing, is minimal in that scenario. And the risk is giving away the walk-off touchdown, which Ohio State got. That, I think, goes back to coaching, and it goes back to chemistry, and it's being on the same page with everybody. And it's Marcus Freeman is still a very young head coach. It's having the confidence to know that in that moment, your decision is the right one, and you're confident in it, and you've been in those situations, and you've got that experience. And he did not have that in the biggest game of the year for Notre Dame last year.
Tom, LSU and USC, if I were to tell you that one of those teams, you pick which one, has significantly better defense, okay? Not top 20, 30, but significantly better because they were both atrocious last year. Who goes the furthest?
Which is the better defense, as significantly better, or which team goes the furthest?
Which team, if I were to tell you both defenses are significantly better?
I think LSU goes further because I think if their defense is significantly better, that allows Garrett Nussmeier to be Garrett Nussmeier. And what I mean by that is if they can't stop anybody, they can't afford to turn the ball over because they know that other team last year was just going to march down the field and score. He's a quarterback that has to play with a little bit of abandon. And I'm not saying that you can turn the ball over at will. What I'm saying is that he has to have the freedom to reach his ceiling. He has to have the freedom to sling it around a little bit and to take some chances. And if you have a defense that can get some stops and you can take a shot on 2nd and 1 from midfield, and if you don't get it, you don't get it, no big deal, then you have a little bit more flexibility, then I think LSU has an opportunity to be a playoff contender. If their defense isn't greatly improved and Nussmeier throws 12 picks over the course of the season, that's an 8-win, 9-win team. And I think that's a huge difference for them.
Tom, before I let you go, let's kind of go through some of the other big games this weekend. You've got the Florida-Miami game. How do you see that one going? And, of course, Georgia-Clemson.
Well, I think Florida, listen, this is fascinating because we have a playoff in college basketball and we get these big games. We get the Champions Classic and whatever. None of them matter, right? Because Kentucky can lose to Duke. Alabama can play a tough schedule under Nate Oates and lose all these games. And in the end, it just gets you ready for the postseason and makes your team better. You can't do that in college football. So these games, you can't just pile up losses. Yeah, can you afford one? Sure, but that's going to put a lot of pressure on you the rest of the year. So I think Billy Napier is going to have a lot of pressure on him. He's got to stock some wins early in the season because there aren't very many of them in November and even late October for him. Graham Mertz is a guy that's kind of the opposite of Nussmeier. He can put up big numbers. He can take care of the football. Can they give him a chance to stay upright? I think it's a big question. And Miami's ridiculously talented, and they have great potential. And then Georgia Clemson, the SEC through Kirby Smart has a chance just to put its foot on the neck of the ACC right here in week 1. I said this before. If Clemson loses but keeps it close, it's okay. And it's okay for Clemson, and I think it's okay for the ACC. Kirby is relentless. And if he puts the throttle down, and this is a 24-point win, if this is a 30-point beatdown, man, the SEC has sent a big-time message early in the year, and one that will then have an impact throughout the entire calendar year because strength of schedule turns into, well, who did you beat and who did they beat? And I'm fascinated to see how the committee handles some of these going forward.
Tom, great stuff, man. What game are you at this week? Oh, you got a few games this weekend, right?
No, I just won. We've got Kentucky Saturday night against Southern Miss. Everybody, I understand, will be watching Notre Dame A&M. But once A&M gets up 3 touchdowns early third quarter, I think you could flip over if you want.
I hope the message
board.
Or
second screen us.
I hope our premium boards heard you say that, and we write a thread about that. A&M up by 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. I like that.
All right, take it. Take it to the bank.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, brother.
Hi, Dave.
See you, man.
Looking good, buddy.
You
Thanks.
too, man. Thank you again. Tom Hart there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. One of my favorites. Deal with it. Okay, I hear it's echoey. We're fixing it. Trust me. It's not the lapel. We've got some things we're still doing. We wanted to start the first week in the new studio. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. That is the website. They've got a great selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, and several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. And they are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni, and they are the absolute best. So my wife should be getting her car back at some point later today. They got us a loaner. They were doing some of their awesome work there because the customer service there, the service that they do is second to none. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers and free oil changes for life on the life of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle. They are the premier dealer for commercial vehicles and all of your small business needs. And they also have a huge inventory to help find anything that you need to get. Long-lasting relationships with all their customers, including myself and others here at TexAgs. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. I don't even know if this deserves an intro right now because you're here, and I know we're going to have some fun. TexAgs Live presented.
We're going live.
We're going live.
We're going live. That's what we're doing. We're going live.
Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2. Billy for 2 hours on a Monday and a Friday. What do you think?
I love it. You're dressed up like you're at ABC Houston. I like it.
Yeah. It won't be every day like this.
I know it won't. But I like that you're doing it day one. I'm the first hat in studio. Yeah, I feel like you're far away.
You want to be closer?
No, it's fine, but I feel like you're far. It's incredible. They did an incredible job. And you know me, like I came in here one time like a month ago and had no idea what it was going to be. It was just this behind us.
Yeah.
Which was incredible enough. And then I felt like they did the rest of this in like an hour.
Well, they were working throughout the night.
None of this was in here. Luke's got a new home. Look at him.
He's so happy.
Look at Luke. So yeah, I mean, I think this is just remarkable what they're able to do.
Yeah.
All I did was agree that we were going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, when we just sit down as owners and say, hey, we think it's time to do this. We said, yeah, sure. And that was my contribution.
Your contribution.
So, but this is.
I will say.
I'll say this. I told Josh this and Brandon. I don't know what my expectations were for this studio, but this far exceeded whatever.
100%.
I knew it would be nice because I liked our old one. Honestly, like I thought it was time for a new desk, but I liked our old one, and so I knew this was going to be nice. But this is way beyond anything I thought.
Custom made, like it is. Everything was made for this room.
But it's also going to give us what people, I don't know if y'all have talked about it or not too, but it's also going to give us flexibility to do not just other things right here, stand-up type stuff, not if, you know, this is set up for us to do things like a Fine Bomb show or SEC Network, anything we might want to do off of this desk, but also, you know, a more casual podcast type setting in the old studios. We'll have so many different options now, which, by the way, we will be coming out with something new for you guys this week, which I think is going to be a really cool idea.
We have a
couple
lot of
new things, but one in particular that I'm involved with that I'm fired up about.
Yeah,
and we got a luchador to do too.
We got a luchador to do. We'll do that.
When do we do that?
What, before
Sunday.
the game? Or are you talking about after the game?
We could do it before. It's kind of a big week, right?
It is a huge week.
We probably need to do it before and after. To be honest with you.
How about these show packets that the team put together? A little Notre Dame info on here.
Love it.
So I wanted to initially start. Are we good to talk A&M now? About where A&M has advantages, where Notre Dame has advantages in your eyes, Billy. I wrote down some thoughts of what I thought, but I'd love to get your perspective. Let me just give you one to start, and then you kind of give. I think as of today, secondary, the edge goes to Notre Dame. They've got two studs. That's not to diminish what I think A&M's secondary is going to be this year. We've got some new players that we want to see how they shake out.
That Notre Dame secondary should be, on paper, entering the season, one of the very best in college football. And I think guys like Morrison and Watts are going to be very high draft picks. Okay,
top 10 for Morrison.
They're going to be very high draft picks in there. So it's not like, oh, they played this competition. No, they can flat out ball. I do think these stats that they put up defensively last year look a hell of a lot different if they played Texas A&M's schedule.
Yep.
They didn't play, and I thought A&M played a little bit of a lesser schedule last year in terms of offenses. But had that team played Miami and, you know, Tennessee, and those, I'm starting low, but Miami and Tennessee, and then Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, some of those offenses, I think these numbers are skewed quite a bit differently. So I do think there is some, you know, hey, it's relative. With what they bring back, with what they put out on the field last year, I really respect Marcus Freeman as a defensive coach.
Right.
Head coach, I think he's still got a lot to prove. I think he's good. The question is does he become great? I think he's a good head coach, but I think he's an outstanding defensive coach. That much has been evident since he's been there. But, I mean, to me, And by the way, they also played an Ohio State team last year that really couldn't figure it out offensively. Not just early in the season, but through a lot of the season. When you look at the struggles they had, early on, getting Marvin Harrison the ball, and that was kind of a big issue throughout the season for Ohio State. So they kind of thrived on that too. They couldn't get that quarterback thing rectified there last year early. So do I think this is an outstanding defense? Yes. Do I think it's an impenetrable, unbreakable defense? No. When I look at A&M's defense, we've talked about it all offseason. I know they're going to be a good defense. I think they can be a great defense. What I've said is I don't know if that defense can be a number 20 type defense in the country or a top 5 or 7 defense. As the season goes on, I think they can get there. Early on, game 1, you mentioned the secondary. I think you'll see A&M playing a lot of dudes. What else I think, though, that's not factored in on this sheet or any other sheet is that.
Yep.
It's Kyle Field. It's at night. It's game 1. It's Mike Elko. It's a new regime. There are a lot of intangibles that on Saturday night are going to make that A&M defense a hell of a lot better. And then there are the tangibles, which is how well can Riley Leonard thread the needle? How accurate can he be down the field throwing the football under pressure? How can this Notre Dame O-line hold up against the A&M D-line? I know Notre Dame's strong up front, okay? We know what Howard Cross is. He's another All-American. They're really strong inside. It's going to be a major test. But like you said earlier, there are veterans and there's a lot of experience on that Aggie offensive front. That is not the case on the Notre Dame offensive line. So when you're comparing defenses, the A&M defense will not be on the field against the Notre Dame defense.
That's right.
So on paper, with what they've proven, I would pick the Notre Dame defense going into the season. Although you look at A&M's D-line, and I think they're better across the front. Cross is probably the number 1 guy. Then you go across the front, and you go Scorton right there with him.
Yep.
In terms of like what the scouts think. Shamar Turner, he's way up there. Shamar Stewart could go higher than all of them with the right year. So across the front, I actually like the A&M D-line. Interior and with the best guy of the group, I think it's probably Cross. But you look at this A&M defense, and I say, on Saturday night, I might take the Aggie defense over the Irish defense.
100%. More of that on the other side. I want to talk about the wide receivers because I think they're both questions on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. Right now, if you have pain from arthritis and it's just awful, or if you got bone-on-bone, constant pain, and it robs you of all the things you like to do, play tennis, ride your bike, whatever it may be, you need to call the good people at QC Kinetics up because they have effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. I'm talking about exciting new cellular therapies to get you lasting relief. The place to get this done is QC Kinetics. They're using cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so that you can move again and do the things that you love to do outdoors with your family, whatever it may be. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance the joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief, and this is with no downtime. The medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. The future of medicine is right now. Call 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's 979-452-6000.
and I took a.
Oh, great. My IFP just popped out. It is TexAgs Live. We're on the air, Billy.
Trying to find the video of you, or our version of you going, we're going live. We're going live.
And I killed TexAgs Radio, by
That's
the
all
way.
I can say is we're going live.
Did
What'd
you
do?
want to hear my terrible idea that I think Nick liked? I don't know if Luke liked it. I had this idea of starting today's show.
Do
This
we
was
care
last
if
week.
Luke liked it?
That's a good point. I thought about starting the show in the old studio
Mm-hmm.
and then playing Journey, Don't Stop Believing, which, by the way, we just heard.
Cutting out like
And
the
then going
Sopranos.
black, and then credits, and then explosion, and being in here. That was my initial thought, but I don't know if people from 20 years ago would have understood.
I thought it would have been cool. People wouldn't have understood, but they still would have been like, oh, cool, he was in one studio then the other, but they wouldn't have got the reference. But
But you would have gotten it.
I would have loved it.
I want to continue down the path about where A&M has the advantage, where Notre Dame has the advantage. Wide receiver is an interesting one for me because it could very well be A&M. Notre Dame went into the portal and brought in the Chris Marshall character from FIU, who, by the way, 3 weeks ago I read. Sorry, Chris Mitchell.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
I wish they would have brought in Chris Marshall because Chris Mitchell put up numbers.
He can, but what I was just listening recently to a podcast from Notre Dame that they're not even sure if he's wide receiver 3 for them right now.
Yeah.
He's kind of, I don't want to say fallen out of favor. There's just a lot of guys jockeying for that third position. So now he has produced, but the A&M wide receiver room has guys that have produced on singular nights, right? Not for an entire season. And that's why I think that's one of those, it's a pick 'em, if you will.
I do too. And I think, look, I think what you're looking at, and I like the Greathouse guy. I liked him at Westlake. Jaden, is it Jaden Greathouse?
Jaden Greathouse,
I liked him.
Jordan Faison, the lacrosse player.
Faison, but I really liked Greathouse coming out, and he's he's kind of like Noah, but different. But in that they can kind of go, you throw it up, they can go up and get it, and they're a problem down the field. This is that game where I think, look, whether it's Faison, whether it's Noah, whether it's Greathouse, whether it's Cyrus Allen, whether it's Terry Bussey, whoever ends up emerging as the season progresses, probably won't necessarily be that guy Saturday night. I think it's going to be which receiving core can make a few big.
Sorry, I had to do it. I didn't touch it.
It's very anal of you.
Well, because I have to get to this.
Okay. Oh, okay. Then that's normal. I thought you just didn't like the arrangement of all the cups while we were talking.
No, I have to get to my spot in a minute.
So I believe we have to get to your spot, but not while we're on air.
No, it's during the air.
Oh, okay.
It's during the second.
So to me, I think whichever receiving core makes the most big catches, and by most I mean like who's going to make the big snag over the middle on 3rd and 12 midway through the third quarter? Who's going to catch a deep ball early in the game to kind of put a little doubt in the minds of those defensive backs and the opposing D coordinator in terms of how he wants to cover things? For example, if Connor Wigman, on an early down, pulls it on play action, has time, hits a deep pass over the top, early in that football game, what does that do to the way Notre Dame defends? If Noah Thomas gets behind them, or if an unexpected guy gets behind them, makes a deep grab, what does that do to kind of change that up? And then how much does that open up the run? So it's going to be, I think, who makes the handful of big catches. I'm thinking about A&M versus Florida a few years ago. They ran the hell out of the ball, but you had Caleb Chapman with a couple of deep ball catches that changed the whole complexion of that football game. And I think both teams will be striving to see who can reach that point first on Saturday night. Or you might have any one of these guys we said, or a Moose Muhammad or a Ja'Day Walker, have a big game and then go back to having their normal season.
Right.
But just game one, under the lights, couple of big snags, boom. And to me, we all know Moose is capable of that. We know Noah's capable of that with big catches, but I think Notre Dame has a couple guys capable of that as well. And for the Aggies, with what you got in Benjamin Morrison and the low number of receptions he gives up over the course of a whole damn season, you might even look away from Noah and try to say, who's that number 2 guy?
Sure.
Because that might be where the advantage and opportunity is.
I have a note for you. So when Marvin Harrison lined up against Benjamin Morrison last season, 7 targets, 3 incompletions, allowed just 2 completions.
Martin.
Yeah, Benjamin Morrison did against Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, no, that was a game. That's where everybody was talking. That's where he made his money. And that also, as the season went on, it was a few weeks, I think, there were some games where Marvin Harrison didn't do a lot. And people were talking about what a poor job Ohio State was doing in getting him the football. So I think that was twofold.
Part of the issue was Ohio State.
I do think you can catch passes on this guy, but I also think he's one of the best in the country.
A part that we didn't really talk about there, but the tight end room. Notre Dame's got a very good tight end room. Their main guy got hurt last year.
Do.
Mitchell Evans was one of the top tight ends before he got hurt. He had an ACL injury. It'll be interesting to see, because he's apparently been a full go at camp, how he affects the game. And conversely, A&M's got a very talented tight end room as well, a little bit more unproven, but certainly a good collection.
Some of y'all's numbers are strange here. Chris Mitchell with 14 receptions for 1,118.
The printer cut it off, yeah.
So Mitchell Evans had how many catches for 422 and 24 first downs?
I think
39 maybe?
1,118 yards, 7 touchdowns.
No, I'm talking about Mitchell Evans.
Oh, Mitchell Evans. 9 receptions, 422.
No, that's
it had
not
to be more
true.
than 19 receptions, let's call it. 422
But he had 24
yards.
first downs. So how do you have 24 first downs on 19 catches?
You're going to have to ask the folks who did that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your crack stat team is off to a rough
I'm going to
start
blame it on the
this
printer.
week.
I'm going to blame it on.
Oh, it wasn't me. Shaggy over
All right,
here.
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with more. Right now, though, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. They're going to be in studio this week to talk about some cool events that they have going on. But if you're looking for a way to engage with Aggies and you have a great business, you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. I'm talking about all Aggie hullabaloo. I'm talking about the ring day. I'm talking about gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. They include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. That's sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It's the Association of Former Students. It is TexAgs Live. I believe we're back. Presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, I made the mistake of calling it, so I have muscle memory. The intros have been good, but like when I was talking to Jackie Sherrill, on that one I'd say, talking to Jackie Sherrill with my Kermit voice, on the Bell's Farms hotline.
We're going live.
We're going live.
I mean, that's going to happen. You've been doing it for 3 years, right? I mean, you're going to.
I remember when
I would do that. I would probably do it for like a year.
We changed our SIG out at ABC 13. It used to be David Nuño, Eyewitness Sports. Then it became David Nuño, ABC 13, Eyewitness Sports. And there was a counter for that as well.
What if you'd have gone, when you worked at Channel 13, you just decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reinvent. And you just stole Marvin Zindler's shtick. And just like, you thought you'd get away with it. And one night you're just sitting there and you're like, David Nuño, Eyewitness News.
Slime in the ice machine.
Yeah, you started.
I've already stolen Chuck Woolery's.
Slime on the football. Every time they fumbled, you're like, slime on the football.
Slime on the,
and then you had a whole song, slime on the football. Yeah.
I think I might do that.
Talk about something that's 20 plus years old. That's probably 40 years old. That's like when I first moved to Houston as a little kid, and you're like, who is this crazy white-haired guy screaming slime in the ice machine? Who is this football coach wearing full-length fur coats on the sideline with cowboy hats? What is a ghillies? What the hell's a mechanical bull?
Did I ever tell you that?
I mean, that was when we moved to Texas when I was a really little kid, and we moved literally from New York to Houston, Texas, and it was like, whoa.
I ever tell you that I upset Marvin Zindler's wife?
No.
So years back, my old friend Ken Hoffman, who passed away a month ago, he was having some kind of eating contest at Kenny and Ziggy's.
Yeah.
And Marvin's wife was there. They were honoring him some way, shape, or form. And I was getting video to put up on 1560thegame.com. And I guess I got in her way. Oh, man. She grabbed me by the shoulder and, like, jagged me down. And Raheel looked at me like, yeah, so don't upset Marvin Zindler's. For those who you have no idea who Marvin Zindler is, Google him for me, please, Luke. All right.
Cameo in Best Little House in Texas.
Yep, that's right. He was the reporter that
broke the whole thing,
story.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Edge, quarterback-wise, that's Connor. I think they're both very good quarterbacks, but I think Connor at his best, what I've seen, I think, maybe I'm wrong here, Billy, is better than Riley at his best.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I think NFL people would tell you they believe that. I think defenses from Miami, LSU, Ole Miss probably tell you that too. I don't know about Miami though. I don't know. Did Duke play Miami last year? What did Riley Leonard do against the Canes? Look that up, Luke. You paying attention? See, he's good. But he's an aspiring Marvin Zindler. They did not play last year. So, there's another year you could check too. But here's the thing with Riley Leonard and Connor Wigman. I think Connor's a much better pro prospect, and I think Connor's a better quarterback. But Riley Leonard isn't so far off that in a game he can't outperform Wigman or any other quarterback that Notre Dame plays. So Connor's going to have to be on his A game. And so, Riley, let's assume he is. What problems does he cause? I mean, so much of that is going to be what he can do off scripted and what he can do as a straight up runner. And I know Mike Elko and Jay Bateman, particularly Elko, obviously knows exactly what he's about. And they're preparing accordingly. But there's a lot you can't prepare for with a quarterback like him. So this is going to be like contain him at all costs.
Right.
Keep him inside that pocket, make him step into pressure and throw, hit him while he's stepping into throws. Do what Miami did to Connor last year and see how it affects him, because I don't think Riley can make those throws that Connor did under pressure last year that everybody keeps circulating and showing in a losing effort to kind of display how tough Connor is and how accurate he is down the field. I don't think that would be the case if you can contain him. But if he starts getting outside and he starts creasing you in the design QB run game, you're going to have a problem. And the other thing that's going to do if he gets out of the pocket, it's going to create big plays for them down the field that otherwise I don't think will be there And it's also that's how you tire out
Yeah.
an elite defensive line. You tire them out by making them run and chase. If they can contain him in the pocket, it can be a really long night. But Riley's good enough to be the best quarterback on the field Saturday night. I just don't think he will. I think that's going to be number 15 in maroon and white.
When we come back, I want to go a little bit deeper on Mike Elko versus Marcus Freeman. So some interesting stats on Freeman, and we'll just talk about coaching styles. Plus we'll get to your text messages and phone calls, 979-693-1150. You are listening to the brand new TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we are back in on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. He's Billy Liucci. I am David Nuño, hour number 3 of the program. Billy, let's go to the Boss Firearms
They're
hotline.
trying a little too hard with this thing, buddy. Like all this for one call from the Boss Firearms hotline. Look at this. I can't even. I mean, go ahead.
It's supposed to go in the back.
Just let it hang out.
Hey now, let's go to Ross. Ross, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Congratulations on the newly coined show.
Thank you, Ross.
I was just curious, have y'all gotten any other callers in the first 2 hours from just fans?
I don't know. You might be. Is he the first one?
He might be. We haven't really asked for a lot of calls, but we're happy you call in. So, what does it look good? I know we're working on the sound. What do you think?
Well, I haven't had a chance to dial in. I'm delayed going into work today because I'm staying late, so I'm just listening. But when I get in, I'll pull you up on the I'll pull TexAgs Live up on TexAgs.com and the Rollo Insurance Studio. But I just wanted to say that I could be the first caller into the new program, and that when I was in the 6th grade, I played Marvin Zindler in a school play. So I know that we're venturing into all kinds of other things on the program. I'm excited, obviously, about the start of the season, but I also just wanted to say I was the first caller into TexAgs Live. And hey, I really like y'all's show. Have a great one.
Thank you, Ross.
Appreciate it. And here's the deal: he can go around now and say he was the first caller. Good decision to show up late for work on a Monday, in my opinion.
Why not? Right?
What happened? Why were you 2 hours late? It's 10 o'clock.
I was listening to TexAgs Live.
I wanted to be the first caller in TexAgs Live. Well, I don't like that. Well, how do you like this? I played Marvin Zindler in a school play.
Okay, well, now you stay.
You're fine. You're good then.
By the way, you can watch TexAgs Live even at work with the mobile app, TexAgs app, so you can get it there. You can watch on YouTube, and you can, of course, listen on the Zone.
Why is your chair so high?
Because I like to sit up high. It's called anchorman posture.
Well, I'd like us to be on level, so I have to sit like this.
But I'm not tall. You're tall. You want me to do this like you and just,
Go ahead, Nuño.
All right. Billy, would you like to talk a little bit about Marvin Freeman versus Mike Elko?
I'd rather talk about Marcus Freeman than Marvin Freeman, but if you'd like to...
Chris Marshall,
You're messing up names
Chris
today.
Mitchell.
What did you call
Chris Marshall?
Martin Harrison, Marvin Freeman.
No, I did not. You heard Martin. I did not say Martin.
Okay, we could rewind that one.
100%. In fact, I hope we do.
Bet lunch on it?
Yes. I have my card on me.
Okay.
Anyway, year 3 versus year 1, but it's also year 3 for both of them in their head coaching
coaches.
careers.
Look, they went head-to-head last year, and Notre Dame won a thriller.
Yep.
I can remember watching that at the Avenue Sports Bar in Dallas. A lot of my friends frequent there, probably way too much. Probably need to be cut off. But watching that game, I think it was the same weekend as A&M Arkansas. If I were a betting man, we probably went from there to watch that game. But that was a hell of a football game. I know watching it, Duke should have won that game. You had a play on, I think, 4th and 18 there. That was a game where Riley Leonard got hurt. If they stop him 4th and 18, and as Elko and that whole Duke staff and any of those guys here know, in a game like that, they're probably picking any number of a dozen plays that win them that game. I thought they outplayed Notre Dame pretty much wire to wire, and that was with Riley Leonard, who's now Notre Dame's quarterback. This is all very confusing, playing for Mike Elko, who's now A&M's coach, against Marcus Freeman, who is not Marvin Freeman, but is still Notre Dame's coach. So all this stuff. But Duke should have won that football game. In that head-to-head, I think Mike Elko and his staff outcoached Freeman and that Notre Dame staff. They also went into a very hostile environment at Duke. It was, it was a monster game. Duke had beaten Clemson earlier in the year at home. That place was going nuts, rabid. Guess what?
This place will too.
Guess what this place is going to be like Saturday night? Except it's going to be 100,000+. I don't know how many Duke seats. My guess would be, I have no idea.
54,000.
Is that what it is?
I'm just a total guess.
Here goes Luke. There he goes.
Let's
go, Luke. So,
35,000.
Oh.
35, wow. So anyway, 35,000 can get pretty loud when you pack them into a tiny
Sure.
stadium. That's like the Ole Miss effect. They don't have nearly as much as the other SEC stadiums. And Mississippi State, you pack them in there, it gets pretty damn loud, although Mississippi State with the cowbells, kind of cheating. But I think Freeman has done a nice job at Notre Dame. It certainly seems like their program is trending back up under him based on where they're at this year, how they finished last season. I know they got a very watered down bowl opponent. That was similar to A&M, a coaching change. It was at Oregon State. It was similar to A&M. You had like no players that were playing, so they got the Oklahoma State treatment. They got what Gundy and the Cowboys got, which was the practice squad in several positions. But they finished the season on a high note. The key for Marcus Freeman is they brought a lot of guys back that could have gone pro. These guys are coming back to, in their mind, to win a national title. They're coming back to reach a college football playoff. They're coming back to win games like Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Like, they're coming back to have a big, big year. So he did a really good job of that. Tells me he's a very popular coach with his players. We've always known that. But when you see guys pass up the NFL to come back and do that, that means they believe over there. And look, I think he made a great offseason hire at OC with Mike Denbrock.
He did.
I think the offense, was clearly behind their defense in South Bend, and that hire was made to fix that. So, and another huge, not piece of irony, but an interesting sidebar to this game is Mike Denbrock really wanted this A&M job while he was at LSU before the Notre Dame opportunity opened up.
And I'll add, Colin Klein turned them down.
And A&M went with Colin Klein and turned down Notre Dame. So
Colin Klein turned down Notre Dame the year prior.
That's what I'm saying. He was the guy that Elko picked, but also turned down Notre Dame. So there's a lot of really interesting side notes. There's both D lines against these O lines that have a lot to prove, a ton to prove. That's probably as big a talking point as any. I mean, how many quarterback battles are better than this one in week one?
I think the Georgia-Clemson one's a good one.
For sure.
Right.
I mean, that might be the beginning and end of your list.
Right.
I mean, that might be it this weekend. When you talk about Riley
Because
Leonard
Miller Moss
Connor
versus
Williams.
Garrett Nussmeier is intriguing, but not this level.
No, I mean, Miller Moss has shown nothing. It's just that he's USC's quarterback and he's Lincoln Riley's quarterback. That's an intriguing one. But no, I mean, I think Riley Leonard versus Wigman, because you've got Wigman behind Georgia Clemson, mind you, particularly Klubnik and Clemson. After you saw Florida State and you're trying to break down a playoff field and seedings and conference champions, if Clemson and Cade Klubnik can come out against Georgia and just play them off their feet, they don't even have to, if they win, then obviously, but if play them off their feet and a great game by Cade, I think it shakes up how you view this playoff picture. Certainly the ACC, but then all of a sudden you go, hey, Clemson can do some damage. Sure. They almost beat Georgia, and this Klubnik guy looks like he's taking a giant leap. Same thing with Connor. Not to that level because A&M's not in the ACC, but if Connor Wigman comes out against this great Notre Dame defense, has himself a game, how much does that change the perception of Texas A&M in year one under Mike Elko, and there's potential moving forward throughout this schedule? Then people start looking, and this is where the Longhorns get all lathered up when they hear me say this because they think I'm predicting undefeated. But if Connor Wigman went out and had a really good game Saturday night, A&M beat Notre Dame against this defense, this Irish defense, and that secondary led by Morrison and Watts, you're going to look up and go, okay, now how does that play? They get Missouri at home, they get LSU at home, they get Texas at home. People don't respect Florida like, I don't think they respect them quite like I do for that early road game. You start looking at that schedule and you go, if Wigman's the truth, this team has a chance to be one of the surprise teams coming out of the conference this year. Couple big ifs there. Because Connor can just have a solid day and A&M win a low-scoring four-quarter rock fight. I think either team could go out there and win a low-scoring rock fight Saturday night because the defenses could be that good. But if Wigman balls out, or what if Riley Leonard led Notre Dame to a big win over a very respected A&M defense on the road in front of 100,000 at night? What does that do to Notre Dame's national title hopes? And with the way the nation jumps on Notre Dame when they're good. If Riley Leonard went out and had himself a game, I think Notre Dame establishes themselves as not only a virtual playoff lock, but a national title contender. People are going to trip over themselves to anoint Leonard, Freeman, and the Fighting Irish with that defense. So a big game by either quarterback, I think, really registers and resonates nationally. And it's going to be all people are talking, not all, because they'll be talking about those other two games you mentioned, but it's going to be a real headline grabber on Sunday. Could be Connor Wigman or Riley Leonard.
A little bit more on Marcus Freeman. He was 4-4 on the road last year, or excuse me, in his 2 years, 2 years in a game at Notre Dame. But me saying that out loud, like A&M hasn't won on the road, but I'm just saying he's 4-4, and then against teams above 500, he is 7-6 as a head coach.
Neither of those mean anything to me. Neither. It's too small a body of work. And neither of those things mean anything to me. How could Notre Dame not be better than 7-6 against teams above 500? That's such a low bar. And I don't know who they are. Was Navy above 500? Is the toughest team they won on the road or beat on the road like an NC State? Who?
USC.
Yeah, who are the 4 and 4 who'd that come against? That's USC sucked last year. Caleb Williams is great. USC sucked. Caleb Williams had some bad games because that team was terrible. And you don't have to, if you don't want to go through the 4 and 4, but I'd be curious. That could be really impressive.
They lost to a number 20 Clemson.
They lost to Duke last year and Mike Elko.
The Notre Dame beat Duke last year. So
No. That Clemson lost.
Oh, sorry. I understand. Yes.
Don't be fact-checking me.
Sorry.
I'm the fact-checker.
Apologies.
And I got Luke having my back over here who's clearly doing nothing right now because you're having to look this up.
They beat NC State last year, 45-24. NC State was a pretty nice team. But
That's what I was saying. NC State, that's an impressive road. That's why I want to hear this. Come on.
Yep. And from last year, and Luke can look up the year prior for me while I'm looking at that one. Let's see if there's any more. Oregon State was not ranked when they played them. And that's it for last year. So Luke will have to give us the rest. And USC was not ranked, obviously, when they played Louisville. They lost to Louisville, who was number 19 in the country when they played on October 7th.
I don't get a lot out of those numbers. We knew Notre Dame's a quality team last year. So that's nothing in those 2-year numbers stand out to me other than they don't suck on the road. Now, they had A&M's road record under Jimbo, then I'd be feeling a lot better.
But again, when people talk about you wanted me to follow that up with something?
No, I thought you might move on to something. I couldn't tell what your face was
it's
doing.
10:14. We still got a few more minutes in this segment. But it is not fair to judge A&M on the road from the prior regime. I know you're not doing that. I'm just saying with this, but they still have to go do it this year.
What does that have to do with Notre Dame's road record? I don't know where.
Well, Notre Dame's road record to me matters because they're going on the road to play, and they.
Yeah.
I
agreed with you.
I know, but we're going deeper. What was the stat you gave at the top of the show?
Notre Dame since 2013, 5-13 against ranked opponents on the road, and then they're also as an added bonus 0-10 against crowds that are larger than 90,000 since 2006.
That's significant, but again. What have they? That's fan talk. To me, that's fan talk. It is two fan bases that if you talk to them, they'll say, "Well, we're Notre Dame. This is a game we lose. Anytime we go to a big place on the road, we lose." Well, what does Marcus Freeman do at big places on the road? What do his football teams do? What do these guys do? Okay, that's all that matters to me. Just like you were about to say, when A&M goes on the road this year, if they go lose at Florida, it doesn't mean that Mike Elko is going to have the same road record as Jimbo Fisher.
Right.
He's not. But if they go win, it also, that's all that matters to me. When we start talking about road record, well, A&M's now they've won 1 of their last 8 on the road. Well, they're 1-0 under Mike Elko on the road. So those numbers and what the fans feel don't mean anything to me. So A&M, well, we never win big games like this. We never, we can think of, the big early games we play, we lose all the time. That's not true. That's not true. And they certainly, I would contend that they win games like this one at home.
Absolutely.
At Kyle Field.
LSU, Bama.
With all the struggles the last few years under Jimbo, in 2020, they beat number 3 Florida. In 2021, they beat number 1 Alabama. In 2022, who'd they beat at home? Oh, they beat, LSU.
LSU, last game.
Top 5 LSU team. In 2018, Jimbo's first year, they beat a top 10 LSU team. So Jimbo was here 6 years and won at least 4 top 10 games at home. I think Auburn was number 11 when A&M beat him. He won, I think, 4 top 10 games at home. Almost every year he clipped a top 10 team here. And he came that close to beating Clemson the year they won the national title. That's Kyle Field. That's the advantage. That's the 100,000. That's the 12th man. That's this place at night. That's what elevates the play of your defense. That's what rattles other quarterbacks. That's what rattles and shakes up inexperienced offensive lines. That's what had Alabama false start like 7 times last year. Mm-hmm. A Nick Saban football team false starting 7 times or delay of games, either or. That's what this is at home. So I think those numbers, all they tell me is that Marcus Freeman's going to have his team ready to play on the road. They're not going to be overwhelmed like Notre Dame teams seem to have been under other coaches. But I do think if you start playing well, you can overwhelm an inexperienced O-line and you can get to a quarterback if he doesn't have much protection. And that's where this crowd's going to come in.
Well, let me ask you one last thing about Marcus Freeman, because I think when people talk about him, and I don't know if it's fair or not, they bring up the Ohio State 10 men on the field at the end of the game and having those opportunities to fix that. That, to me, isn't a long-term issue unless we see that as a pattern. Beyond that, I don't know of other examples of him making that level of mistake, especially at the end of a huge game.
No, I don't know what the Notre Dame fans think of him, but I watch enough Notre Dame to think he seems like an organized, prepared coach. They look like a prepared football team. They look well coached to me. I don't see question. I don't think you sit there and wonder if he's competent or if that's an inept coaching staff at all. I don't get that vibe. I've never gotten it watching them. I think that was just a very costly mistake on a play that could have, season-altering play and mistake, no doubt. But I think that's an outlier.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit maybe about Haynes King and that Georgia Tech game. Much more, obviously, on this A&M versus Notre Dame game. Right now, Milliken Reserve, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. And they've done that by providing 2,600 acres of open space, 30 miles of trails. They've got farms, they got homes, they got it all. They've got an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that beautiful natural habitat. They got great events coming up this weekend, 7 a.m., the trail running with the Lone Star Trail Runners. You've got Day at Play on the 31st as well, 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock. Gardening 101, fall and winter planting. I know Lucas signed up for that one. The Garden Club meeting is on September the 4th. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Go check it out. And we're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We just did a fake segment for 5 seconds. We weren't on air, so we redid the joke.
If I would have known that Katie, who's standing here and is just now learning that I showed her the video of her mocking your Kermit the Frog voice, that you said Kermit the Frog, we did not.
But that's what it was.
You thought it sounded
I sound like Kermit the Frog.
You thought it sounded like Kermit the Frog. Now you sound like a British Kermit the Frog.
Well, that's what I want to be.
You sound like Julia Childs more than Kermit the Frog, I think. I mean, she doesn't know who Julia Childs is. But if I would have known that that was going to get to you.
Rattle me.
And you wouldn't have just laughed it off and been like, that's pretty funny. I like
funny.
that.
I laughed.
But now it's clearly affected you.
The way Bronny affected you?
I feel like you're going to go home. Yeah, by the way, Bronny came in, but he didn't affect me. He was exactly right, and it's exactly what I told Katie when she recorded it. This is forced. I don't want to squeeze in social media in 20 seconds before we go back on air. She made me do it. Now there's a ridiculous video out there.
And now I got to talk to Katie later about it. She's going to come to my office like, is Billy really mad at me?
She knows. She knows when I'm mad and not mad.
Oh, you've been mad before?
At Katie?
Yeah, never.
Never.
Katie's
But
great.
Katie's the most coachable
person in the office.
Yeah, because she was coached.
This is true.
You know who's surprisingly not coachable? Broninger, who played college baseball. I mean, that guy goes in the tank, and any type of even remote criticism or constructive, Katie is coachable.
Are you coachable?
I don't know. I've never had a coach.
Would you like to talk about some broadcasting things? I can help you.
No. Your own people don't listen to you when you tell them about broadcasting things. How
What are you
could
talking
I?
about? Luke he's a rising star
You're
of the business.
coachable, but you're not a coach. You're a terrible coach.
How do you know? Have you seen the intern packets that we've made with the right printing size now? These are fantastic.
Some would say I'm a better coach because I just said it one time and everybody scrambled and went and got them and they brought me an updated version.
No, you're the owner, the
Slash
boss.
coach.
We'd like to keep you happy. You are a good coach.
I'm like, well, I would say Pete Rose, but you don't want to be Pete.
Charlie Hustlelucci.
Manager, player manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know who could do that? I think Tom Brady could be a player manager, player coach. I love.
The great players don't always make great coaches.
I loved that deal by him where he was
With Stephen
talking
A?
about the receivers.
Oh, about
How if there's a guy out there that I don't think is going to run the right route, you're wasting a guy on the field. And
Yep.
I'm telling the coach, get him out of here because I'm not throwing it to him. If I see a guy looking to the sidelines, he doesn't know the play, I'm not looking at him. That's, to me, where having a veteran, experienced college football quarterback comes into play.
Yep.
Like, Connor Wigman early in his career probably couldn't really do that. Now, he's in year 3. This should be his offense, his team. He should have that relationship with Colin Klein. He should be able to look at his receivers and get on guys if they're not getting it done. Get the guys in here that can get it done. I think Klein and Elko are about that life as well. And I think the cream will rise to the top at that particular position. I remember watching a very young Ryan Tannehill when he was thrown into a game. He was thrown into a game, I think, the week before. Then he made his first start at home against Texas Tech. And kind of what we saw a lot of with Jimbo, Kellen would kind of sit and wait for the play and, taking forever, whatever their process was. You'd see some of the same stuff with Mike Sherman. And I remember in the game, Tannehill on the sideline screaming in his first career start, get the bleeping play in. Hurry up. Like yelling to the sideline, yelling at the coaches even, get me the damn play. And that was his first career start. He had played receiver, and I was like, I like this dude. I already liked Tannehill, but I was like, okay, that's what I want to see from my quarterback. That's what experience gets you. And Connor Wigman, even though he's only started 8 games, he's going into year 3. He's the unquestioned QB1. He's experienced. I think he can start showing, I expect that we'll see him start showing more in-game leadership, and he already shows the fire and the competitiveness, but combine that with kind of some fiery leadership as well.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We've got a couple text messages coming in just to hit before we hit a break.
Yeah, I've got a text message from all the way out in Wyoming. It's asking, what will the national perspective be of Texas A&M in a blowout win or loss, or close win or loss? Will A&M get the credit they deserve for a win?
They'll get the credit.
Yeah, I think no matter what.
I mean, they're always.
They might get more credit than they deserve for a close win. You know, Notre Dame might not be the 7th best team in the country. They might be the 16th.
Right.
But A&M will get a lot of credit for a win. And if they blow them out, I think they'll get an equal amount of credit, I think, either way. Because if they blow them out, the question would be more about what's wrong with Notre Dame. It goes both ways in that game, too. The same for Notre Dame. But if the Aggies win, I think the only way they get a lot more credit is if it's a kind of game where the quarterback just goes nuts. Right. If Connor Wigman has a day against a very respected and proven Notre Dame defense, then I think people will maybe, start tripping over themselves to credit A&M like I was saying they would do if Notre Dame came in here and won.
Luke, I'm sure we got to get to that great football question from Cody. I guess something about me coaching or something?
Why did you look over there?
Now
you went like, I was talking to you and you just go like this.
You noticed the random things.
You go like this.
You know
but
why?
What were you looking at? You were definitely, something got you.
Yeah, they changed the graphic in the back. Yeah. And I saw the Rollo Insurance sign pop up.
Okay.
Sometimes it says David Gardner.
Yeah.
Billy,
it's what good coaches do, Luke.
You're gonna love this. David's cherry picking a text message that
I didn't even see
calls him out for a good thing. So I guess I'll read it, but just know that he specifically asked for this one. Cody in San Antonio said, "Hey, Nuño gives great weightlifting advice."
Wow, thank you, Cody. So kind of you.
I don't disagree with him.
Yeah, you're actually pretty nice about that.
I am, but I would say you'd be a great strength coach.
I'd like to intern for Coach Moffitt just to learn. Just to learn.
Tommy Moffitt would probably fire you day one. You know why?
I don't think so.
Because when that texter said you give great weightlifting advice, there's one word he left out.
To average human beings.
You give great unsolicited weightlifting advice. So when Tommy Moffitt's sitting there doing what he's done for 30 plus years, and you'd like to shadow him for one day, within the first hour, you will have corrected Tommy Moffitt.
No chance.
And his coaching probably in an hour, 60 minutes, I'd say 7 to 8 times. And he'd be like, son, he'd call you son, which will make you feel good because you're not young, but to him, he'd be like, son, I'm going to need to ask you to leave.
See, this is where you don't understand me.
Okay.
I pick and choose my prey. If you're prey? Yeah. If you're
hold on.
If you're
Let's go.
if you're
pick and choose the people you coach.
If you're 60 years old and you think you're doing curls and you're actually right here, I might correct you. If you are making a lot of noises on the bench but you're actually not doing bench, I may correct you. If you are significantly better than me, or no, not even, if you're just working out hard, I don't say a word. It's those that make it about them at the gym. Or if I'm with you. If we're working out together and I see you doing a fake pull-up.
I don't mind that. You can tell me whatever. I don't do a
You actually ask me. You'll say, well, how does this look?
You do a pull-up or you don't. I'm not doing the weight-assisted ones. But I'll tell you this.
I give you props.
I have seen one thing that sets you off every time.
It's been like 2 years since you've seen this.
Every time. It's when older folks are trying to work out and you are so judgmental.
Not true. Not true at all.
It's disturbing.
I'm a man of the
And
arts.
I'm sitting there going, this person is at an age that I would hope that I'll be going into the gym and you're sitting there judging their form. And there's one of them that our listeners know quite well.
Huh. Is that right? I don't think I've done that. I think I
may or may not have been in this seat an hour ago.
Oh,
by the way,
you do the exact same thing with him.
By the way, he doesn't work out.
He does the Trump dance as he's doing the rock machine. Come on.
By the way, he doesn't work out there anymore, so I wonder why.
Yeah. I'm not going to go there. I'm in the mood for quesadillas. Costa
So am
Vida.
I,
Yeah, that place is
actually.
great. So today, Holly was out there passing out tacos with Trev and a company at Student Ticket Pool. And I think she's going to try to send us some pictures for later on in the week. But they've got the All-American Club, obviously, tailgate catering. And, of course, the store is awesome there in South College Station. So they do not have the food trailer, so they won't be in the fan zone this year. But they have so many different options for you to check out. So they've got the Mexican Grill, the All-American Club. They'll have chips and queso there. They have chili lime chicken and sweet pork nachos. And they want to be a part of your game day tailgating crew. So they can take care of you with breakfast tacos, coffee, lunch, and dinner, everything made from scratch. They are so delicious. When I go there, it's the quesadillas, and the boys, like, we may be coming back from soccer practice, like, Dad, we're stopping at Costa Vida. It is so delicious. The people are great. The ingredients are awesome. It is fresh Mex done the absolute best way. Make sure you check that out. And they are Aggie owned and operated. Obviously, say hi to Holly and the crew over there. 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. That is 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. Remember that the All-American Club serving chips and queso, chili lime chicken, and sweet pork nachos. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. What do you think about Haynes King? He did his thing, didn't he?
Haynes King, pride of Longview, once the pride of Texas A&M.
Matthew McConaughey giving him love on Twitter.
I saw that. He's so easy to root for, man. Like, the only thing I don't like about Haynes King was his halftime interview with 2 hat on a hat references in one 30-second interview. I want a little more depth and commentary as someone that does interviews. That makes you go, come on, Haynes, hit me with a little bit more than that. But no, that's a ball coach's son right there is what that is. And he plays the game like it. There wasn't a player here at Texas A&M that didn't respect the hell out of him. There wasn't a coach that didn't respect the hell out of him. And I'm sure you can tell it's the exact same way at Georgia Tech. I was really hopeful when he left here that he would find a fit for him as a player personally and see some success. Because I thought for what he put into it here, he deserves to see some success. And he was put in some bad spots. Then he kept getting injured. The guy was playing hurt. They had to basically take him off the field in that Florida game a couple years ago where A&M were they tied at halftime or win? I think they were tied at halftime, 24 points in the first half. He's playing it basically on a broken foot. They had, it was just, Haynes King is what you want your program to be about, whether it's Longview, Texas A&M, Georgia Tech. So I was really happy to see him not only get the win. It's one thing to get a win. Quarterbacks can be game managers, but Haynes King made plays down the stretch with his arm and his legs for them to win that football game. I thought he was their offensive MVP in that thing. They don't win that game without him. So congratulations, Haynes. You engineered an upset over a top 10 team in Ireland, of all places. So, I mean, hopefully that was a fun trip for them. And by the way, Chase Lane, another guy, class friend of the program, went over there, made a huge catch and a great catch in that football game to help them win. And you could tell, I just watched Chase's social media. You could tell he's really popular in that locker room as well, just like he was here. But more than that, I see those two guys having fun.
Yeah.
And they're having fun because they're winning. They were having fun last year too. And look, they beaten Miami and Florida State. Haynes King and Georgia Tech own the state of Florida, apparently.
Yeah, they do.
Brent Key's a damn good coach. That's going to be they're a tough out this year with that defense. And Haynes can be a nice mix of game manager
and playmaker.
There might be, I was talking about those receivers doing that. There might be games where they just kind of hang in, and then 3 or 4 plays by Haynes King proves to be the difference in a 23-20, 2017 football game. And they'll be a tough out in the ACC.
He had that. There was a third quarter run where he went up the middle and he took the pile with him all the way to the 1 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
He's always had that in him. I wish we would have seen more of it here, but it was just one thing after another. Unfortunately.
It was too much. It was a bad offense. They couldn't get it figured out. It was confusion on the sidelines, confusion at the line of scrimmage and in the huddle as a result. It was an offense that far too often it felt like the opposing team knew what was coming. And then he got hurt a lot.
Yep.
And that was the real unfortunate part were the injuries. But I think of Haynes King, I think of that Alabama game on the road. That's what I think of when I think of Haynes King at A&M. That, to me, is my favorite performance or showed me what he was really about, is powering through about 3 different injuries to finish that game and take A&M down to the final play at the 1 yard line against a far superior team behind a bad offensive line and just figuring out a way to keep A&M in there on the road against Nick Saban in Alabama. But good for him making more memories, and then hopefully we see Connor Wigman doing some of the same in about 5 days.
So when we come back, Saturday Down South has a prediction for A&M and a question that they're asking that I want you to answer.
Okay.
Because I think you'll have the answer to that. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. Had I thought of it before this spot, I would have told Chance, why don't you come shoot like the making of the studio, right? Behind the scenes, how it all came together, pictures, interviews, kind of the, this is a vision, by the way, speaking of the studio, that they pitched to me in February 2021 when I was thinking of coming over to TexAgs. Like, hey, we're going to get the state-of-the-art studio here in the next few years, and it's here. It would have been cool to kind of document that, but that's the thing that Chance does. He tells stories. Whatever that story may be that's important to your business, your family ranch. Maybe it's a group of buddies that get together for A&M games. You have a tailgating. You have all the wives and the kids all come. They're throwing the football. You've got the great food, the TVs that you have out there. Then you go to the game. Let Chance be an eye in the sky of special events that matter to your family. Most of his clients are Aggies because, well, let's face it, Aggies love their story and they love sharing their story. And Chance can be the one to do that. He's the most creative guy I know. He's done Broadway musicals. He's done radio stations. He's done movies. He's done it all. And now his passion is telling people's stories through Heritage Films. The phone number for Heritage Films is 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, or go to yourheritagefilm.com. That is yourheritagefilm.com. Today with Double Dave's, caller number 12-979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza From Double Dave, serving Aggieland since 1984. They have your favorite pizza. They have your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls. They have reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. As a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, I teased it last segment. So, interestingly, Saturday Down South has A&M finishing 6th in the SEC, by the way, ahead of Missouri, a team that A&M will face. It's got a long write-up, so I won't do all that. But what I will do is give you the looming question. And there's a little bit to it, so I'll read through it. Is Connor Wegman still on schedule? Technically, Wegman is still in the green zone, year 3, with just 253 attempts across 9 career games. Still, he's shown enough in that limited span to keep his blue chip rep intact. Prior to his injury last year, he was off to a fine start. And then it goes on to say, considering A&M's opening day starter has failed to make it out of September in any of the past 3 seasons, what? The prospect of a healthy, productive campaign behind center almost feels like a revelation. So the question is he still on schedule? You've been to practice. You've seen him. What say you?
Yeah, I think he had an outstanding camp. I'm not going to rehash what I've said a million times. You know I hate the long off-season of rehashing. Him practicing in spring is why he had such a great fall camp. And I think throughout fall camp, Connor Wegman just got better and better and better and better. I do this a lot, Nuño. I'm with the left hand. I do
Go up.
So I'm trying not to coaching myself.
No, but you know what? I want you to be you.
So he's gotten better and better and better and better and better throughout fall camp. And I think, he's on schedule. I mean, I guess technically he's behind schedule because of injury, because I think last year would have been his breakout year. It could very well be this season. You know, we talk about September and all these quarterbacks getting hurt. What if Connor Wegman leads A&M past Notre Dame and then Florida on the road and goes up to AT&T, Cowboy Stadium, and beats Arkansas? You know, what schedule is he on then? That injury is the only reason, in my opinion, why we're not talking about Connor Wegman alongside Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, maybe a Milroe, as one of these all-conference, first-team all-SEC contenders. I think he had the kind of year last year he was trending towards having. It wouldn't be who's going to emerge out of what I keep saying, Connor, Jackson Arnold, Nico, and Garrett Nussmeier. Somebody out of that group's going to be really good this year, like all SEC good, and lead their team to a playoff. Probably at 10-2. There's going to be an SEC team out of Tennessee, LSU, A&M, and Oklahoma that gets into that playoff at 10-2 probably. Which quarterback's going to do that? And Connor, to me, is in that discussion. Whereas had he played last year, he would not be in that discussion. The discussion would be, is he going to be a first or second team All-SEC quarterback? So I do think he is on schedule, but he's going to need help. He's not going to get there without a couple of receivers stepping up and having good years. He's not going to get there without the offensive line taking a big step forward from what we saw last year. I feel pretty good about the O-line doing that.
Okay.
This game, Saturday night, is a very tough first test. Will that be the best defensive front A&M plays all year? Maybe. I don't think it's a sure thing. Look, it's a front 7. It's not a front 2. I know Notre Dame's good across the D-line, but it's really inside. It's also a front 7. That includes linebackers when you're talking about how they're going to test an offensive line in a run game and things like that, pass pro. The potential is there that this could be the best defensive front they face all year, but there's just too many really talented groups in this conference that could ultimately qualify for that and be perhaps better than Notre Dame. So we'll see, but it is a very daunting game 1 test for this O-line. That much is certain.
Hey, one little note that I want to make sure throughout the week we're going to be seeing the injury report for Notre Dame, because I do know there's a couple that we need to be aware of. Howard Cross had a hamstring injury early on in camp.
Yeah.
And some were worried that he had hurt something worse than that. That was out there, so we will certainly check on that. And then Mitchell Evans, I don't believe played in the in their whatever they call it, their blue gold game, whatever it's called. And he's coming back from an ACL injury. Those are two huge stars for them. And one other thing I wanted to bring up about Howard Cross against Duke, he had 13 tackles from nose tackle position. He forced 2 fumbles, including the game clincher where he sacked Riley Leonard, where he, by the way, got re-hurt.
Absolutely insane. I mean, again, there's a reason Cross and Morrison are as highly regarded as they are. They are as elite gets in college football this year.
Tomorrow on the show, Rudy Rudiger.
Oh, wow.
Rudy will be on the show.
That's awesome.
Jamie Morrison will be on the show. Jamie McCoy will be on the show. Jordan Pugh will be on the show. I think tomorrow we have SEC Mike on the show. He had to flip his schedule. He's going to join us weekly during the football season.
I'll be joining him this week as well.
So it's all good. So it's going to be a great one. That's going to do it for our first TexAgs Live here from the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. Thank you for watching today and being a part of the conversation. Thank you so much for just being with us throughout these years. We'll continue to grow with you. We will see you mañana.